Gloria's Korea lovers. 안녕하세요. My name is Ijin Jinny Gloria Lee. Today is July 5th, the premiere of Gloria's Korea. My original plan was to have a live chat with everybody and then get to listen to your voices and hear what you had to say and then share informations. But unfortunately, I'm a new YouTuber and I had a little bit of misunderstanding of the YouTube channel, but bear with me. So, Gloria's Korea, like I mentioned in the previous video, is about introducing Korea to the world. Some of which cooking, history, and probably other things. And then maybe teaching you how to read and write Korean, and then eventually be able to speak some of the language as well, if you could catch very much. Well, tonight will be like a little bit of storytelling where I tell you about myself, and a lot of people asked me they wanted to get to know me better. Well, I was born in Korea, Myeongdong, and then I moved to the States when I was young, due to my father's business, clothing business. So I spent my elementary, middle, and part of high school in a small town called Cliffside Park, New Jersey, in the U.S. And I moved back when I was, I think, after finishing my 10th grade. After graduating from the university, I became a merchandiser for a fashion company. But the business is very intensive, and I had a very difficult time, so I had to find some other things to do. And probably year around 2000 in Korea, English teachers, English instructor business has bloomed, and there were a lot of needs for English teachers. So I started teaching English, and then I did a lot of interpreting jobs, and then afterwards I teach at institutes, and afterwards I teach at corporate classes and many jobs. And currently I'm studying to be an interpreter for, I don't know, international. And then it has been my dream, actually, was to introduce Korea to the world, because as I was growing up, I met a lot of friends. As you know, United States, even New York is a very international. It's a melting pot of culture. I met a lot of people from different countries, and then my friends were Italians, because Cliffside Park is mostly with Italians, and I had Greek friends, I had Afro-American friends, I had people from Puerto Rico, and Japanese, Korean, Chinese, a lot of people. I met all over the world. I also had Indian friends, and then so as we were growing up with my brother, we had very close friends, and they came over my house, and they had Korean food, as I mentioned in the introduction. And maybe I thought, oh, you know what? It would be a good idea if I could someday introduce Korea to the world. And as I became an English teacher, I met a lot of foreigners, and then nowadays it's almost me. I mean, beyond imagination, the world has become so close to each other, and there are a lot of people coming to Korea. I had attended international sports events as an interpreter, and then I've seen a lot of people all over the world. In 2000, the World Cup, and then recently I attended the Pyeongchang Olympics. Um, and well, I thought a lot of people I meet on the streets, even not including my friends, they wanted to know about Korea so much. They love our food, our culture, especially the music and everything. A few years ago, I taught at a university. The subject was intercultural communication, and it was with a lot of students from overseas, and it was done in English as well. And I had chance to invite the guests from different part of the culture in Korea, such as Korean music, pop culture, Korean politics, and Korean literature, and then we had guests over, and I also introduced Korean food to my students, and I think they liked it. So I'm not a bad cook. I'm a relatively good cook. So, and also we went to Turkish culture center where they introduced us to a lot of Turkish culture, and I was amazed by how it was. The turkey actually was partly European country, partly Asian country. You just have to cross the river, and you start your morning in Asia, and then you cross the bridge to go to Europe to work. It really amazed me. I mean, part of my life, I did a lot of traveling because my parents were, they love travel, and everybody does. It actually gives you a lot of experience. Other than, where you live, you get to see the world. And that's really a good thing, I think, to motivate yourself to live, even when you're having a difficult day or a difficult time. Vacation, going abroad, is a very, very relaxing and changing and eye-opening experience for everybody. But nowadays, with the COVID pandemic, we were locked out, and then there were so many horrible things around the world, and we weren't able to, see each other. Even my friends, I miss my friends all over the world. If there was a chance, I would have visited them in many countries, and it would have been wonderful. But well, I think that that we're getting vaccinated nowadays. It's going to get better. It's going to get better, and then we are going to be able to see each other in person. Mm, well, I mean, the whole world had difficulties. I mean, for over a year now because of the COVID. Come to think of it, even with everybody, but especially, I think me, I actually had a life that was with always challenges. I never had a time that wasn't so difficult. I had to get over, I have to endure, and I have to win. Life has not been easy for me always. It was always full of challenges. But I had my parents, my friends, my teachers, everybody supporting me, and then, I had to overcome difficulties. Of course, my life is still full of challenges, mistakes, things to do. But, you know, I think that's what life is all about, where you have to overcome, you have to win, you have to learn from your mistakes. You always, have to, yes, learn all the time. Something new every day. Because in Korean, there's a saying, 학생 부근 신위, where you're even when you're after your death, you're still a student. You have to learn. I believe that idea. So throughout my channel, I'm going to probably give you some word of wisdom in Korean, and then share some of the ideas, my ideas as well. And what I figure with the live show, I would actually want to know what my viewers really wanted to know about Korea. Um, I mean, from the top of my head, I just thought maybe learning about Korean history is very important, and also food. Of course, everybody has to eat, so it's part of something that you would like to know. And also, you have to read and write Korean or speak it, because I've seen a lot of people like around the world. They listen to music, especially youngsters. They know Korean so well because they're fascinated by Korean music and Korean dramas, Korean movies. Um, so it will be a good idea to understand the culture if you know the language and you know how to read and write, because knowledge actually opens door to everybody. It gives you an eye-opening experience to the world. I myself actually speak English, of course, and Korean, and a little bit of Japanese, because my aunt actually married a second generation of Korean Japanese, and my cousins are third generations. And French, I learned when I was in high school, started in high school, and it was also influenced from my uncle, who was ambassador from actually, he started with New York, and then when I was young, he was stationed in Vancouver, and also Paris and Tunisia. And every time I visited my uncle, I was really, how to say, touched, or I had motivation from my uncle to learn many languages. But my French isn't very good. But when I was studying English, or I was studying, I mentioned, I did TESOL program from Sookmyung University. It's an international teacher's license program where you have to take courses in English, and then it teaches you how to teach English. That's how I started being serious about my English teacher career, and then I started getting jobs. After my graduation, I moved to the United States, of course, New York, to study further in New York University, my master's. And I had a very, very difficult time because, like, the living cost in New York, and the education and the tuition in New York University is extremely high, and I had to finish it really fast. So I spent 8 months exactly, and then I had a very quick and not harsh, but I had a great time. New York is a wonderful place to live, and then I feel like I wasn't enjoying that much as I should, because I was studying. But I would go back someday and enjoy everything in New York. It'd be great. I would love to. And then afterwards, I started my PhD right away, right after I came back. So I finished May 2010, and then I attended the PhD course. I think the next semester after. So I had a very difficult time, but I haven't still finished my PhD yet. I did my coursework, and then I'm considering maybe I would go and finish my PhD, but who knows? I mean, with my interpreter degree, I would like to attend my master's again, like one more master's. It would help me, probably. That's what I figured. So, what to do? Anyway, going back to probably the contents of this Glorious Korea, it's going to be once a week with four different topics. But your opinion really matters. You're part of Glorious Korea, and then my viewers are very special to me. So it is subject to change, some of the matters, but I intend to keep four contents. For example, maybe food, Korean history, and then learning Korean. And then lastly, it would be a wonderful idea to, you know, see how people in Korea live, at the same time how foreigners live in Korea, and then to probably be introduced to their culture as well. So I have many friends who are living in Korea, and they have their own culture. They live, somewhat similar, somewhat different from many other cultures. But I would ask my friends, maybe they could share their thoughts about living in Korea. Mm, the first week, maybe next week, I'll do the Korean history. And did you know, actually, the Korean history doesn't actually start with the kings. Probably like Greek and Roman mythology. Korean history also starts with mythology. Probably a man called Dangun myth from heaven. He came down to earth, and then he had to choose a wife, either a bear or a tiger. So he had to test two ladies, and then guess who actually got to be his wife and had married the Tangun, and then she bared what's called Hwanung, the our ancestor. So it's a very fun story about beginning of the Korean history. So in Korea, we also follow the 2010, lunar calendar and everything, the Western, the calculation. But we also have what's called 단기. So 단기 actually would be like, how the Dangun started this country as a mythology. But we do believe, and there are some people still have rituals every year to celebrate Dangun, Singam. And I am not actually going to have animation or thumbnail or anything like that. I'm not going to be even editing if I could, but you know what? It's a start. I am going to learn, I am going to improve, I am going to spend more time doing YouTube, but at the same time, I have other jobs to attend, and then I would have to find somebody to help me with this. But, let's see how it goes, because, life is about being instantaneous. I mean, some people just ask me, like, how could you actually do it without an editor? You cannot do YouTube on your own. There is this big business where you hire a lot of people and, do the editing, and you are full-time committed. YouTuber. But let's see how it goes. If it grows big, I would try to manage. But other I have other things to do. But I'll be very committed to YouTube. At least I'm not going to have many contents, but I'll have everything, in control. And also, I think I will try to make it worth your time. You will learn something. You will have fun. It's not going to be like, very hard or anything that's going to make you feel like difficult. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be like being friends with me, learning things, and then just getting information. Take it very lightly. It's not a big deal. It's just fun thing. You know, so with the Korean history, and then food, Korean food, learning Korean food. You know, uh, I'm amazed by many many foods from all around the world. You know, so when you come to think of Korean food, my friends ask me, in the United States or Western culture, you have the whole table. You sit at the whole table with many people, and you have the dishes actually in front of you. You have your own plate, and then would you pass me the salad? Would you pass me the steak? Would you pass me this and this? But in Korea, you sit down, and then there's side dishes. There's a soup. There's rice. There's everything, and then what's solely yours actually is the bowl of rice or the soup near it, and you have spoon and chopstick in front of you, and then side dishes, and then stew, probably jjigae, is for you to share with people. And when I was growing up, my friends thought, oh, that's not very sanitary. Yeah, with germs, you share the food together, and then the stoma, and then yeah. But nowadays people are changing. But there is some, parts of Korean food that's very, very interesting, and I would want you to share. I would like to share that with you. It's more like, how to say it? Korean foods start with rice and stew, jjigae, 밥, 찌개, kimchi, 반찬. Okay, that's what the main part of it. How we eat the breakfast is so much different. There's a saying in Korean, like if you eat the breakfast, like any culture, but breakfast of the day is the energy, the power source for your day. It gives you a lot of, energies. So in my household, my parents, as I was growing up, even in the States, we had always had Korean food for breakfast: rice, kimchi, always. Did you know there are so many, 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 many different kind of kimchi made from different ingredients, and then they're all very different. I know how to make them, most of it, yes, and then also jjigaes. So I'm going to start with cooking probably with rice and some basic side dishes and soup. I would probably make them and show you how to make them with very simple steps, and what to do, the basic steps. And then some of my friends asked me, in Korea, I don't know what these ingredients are. I don't know how to get them, like where to buy them, what to buy. So probably I'll try to go to some market and show you what everything is exactly, and then explain to you, and then start cooking. Sounds good? Yeah. So when you go to the restaurant, you know at least what it is. It'd be a good idea. Yeah, I'm sure. And as for Korean, I taught some of my friends how to read and write Korean. There's a program for, raising teachers to teach Koreans to foreigners in Yonsei University and other parts, other universities, but I didn't attend or get a degree with the Korean. But reading how to read and write would apply to any language, even English. I taught many children how to read and write, English. So it will be a similar process but can you think? Me as a linguist, I studied PhD and then masters in English education. You know, when you learn a language, I remember a book called How Babies Talk, among other things. And you think of it, you raise your child. I'm single. I'm not married, but who knows? But you know, when a baby is born, how do they learn their native language, mother tongue? What you do probably is what? You listen to the sounds around you. And when the baby develops the brain motor skills and everything, they start to babble, mumble, mumma, 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 they start. And then the caregiver, your mother or father or anybody, your grandparents, your siblings, listen to you and they say, "Oh, that's so cute." You have to say "mom" instead of "mama," "mama," "papa," and then you know what? It's very amazing to find in almost all languages the sound "mama" or "ma" uh, is related to mom. In English, mom. In French, ma mère. And then Korea, mama. Japanese, mommy. And other languages all similar to each other. I think mom is universal. So, going back to the story, you learn when you're born, you listen to others speak around you, you're listening to the sound, and then afterwards you speak it out, spurt it out. And then after you spurt it out, you learn to speak gradually as time goes by, and then people correct you, and then you do the trial and error, and then your language becomes your mother tongue. And after you go to school, that's when you start to read first, and then the last stage is to write. But with English or other language, like a second language, ESL, not EFL. I'll give you. I'll tell you about what ESL, EFL later on. You get to know English as a second language, English as a foreign language. There's a big difference because the difference is the amount of exposure to the language itself, so it's different. But then in Korea or any language, when you learn English, what you learn first back in high school, in my generation, what you do, you learn to read first, and then you write. And then you probably try to listen, but never been able to speak it out that much because you are never given that much chance or exposure to it. That's how difficult the language is. So, in my opinion, I would like for you to read Korean, my foreign friends. But I think when you first come to Korea, you walk down the street and you find out like there are so many difficult. Maybe it looks like a picture to you, and then at least you have to go buy things correctly, and then you have to know where it is, or to find the place that you want to go to, or the subway, the bus. You have to be able to learn how to read, and it's a lot easier for you to live or survive in Korea. That's what it is. Yeah. And then lastly, the fourth actually would be to introduce my foreign friends who are living in Korea to you. Yeah, it'd be fun. I'll go around with my friends' places sometimes, or maybe like an institute. It would be fun. It will be like, fitting the puzzle for me as I move on to this YouTube channel. It's new challenge for me again. But slowly but gradually, I would grow with you. of course, and you will bear with me. And lastly, this is not just for foreigners who can speak English. This is also for my students or even Koreans who would like to learn English better, because you watch dramas, you watch English programs, and that's when you learn, like maybe movies and other stuff. So just by listening to it or just by watching it, because you see the situation going on with me and I explain to you, so you may be able to enjoy and learn something. So don't just designate yourself saying, oh, this is only in English, there's nothing for me to learn. um you know my goal or motivation for this channel is not about making a lot of money. I think it's about closeness, being together with your friends, because I consider everybody in the whole world my friend. And as long as we are able to understand each other and become one and love each other and respect one another, and then respect everybody's culture in many ways, then the world could be a lot better place for everybody. So I don't think I'll be able to. I'll be saying that I've been, I'm a YouTube lover. I mean, I've been watching YouTube with many channels. I have YouTube turned on my room all the time with music and stories, and then I have a lot of people that I follow, but I never could imagine myself saying this. So please subscribe, because I'll make your time worth it, and you know, you see me once a week at least. We'll have a date. And then I'll get to show you my world. Come into my world. And let's be together. Stay with Jeannie. Bear with me and grow with me. We can be friends. Okay, so be sure to subscribe, like, share, and hope you have a wonderful night. And I'll see you next week with Dangun Shina, the story of Korea, where it began. So thank you very much. Have a good night. Gloria Korea's glorious Korea lovers. Good night. See you next week. Bye bye.